hi guys. My name is Nate. So like I said, you might have heard me before doing some of the voice work for some of the other classes. In fact, some people have approached me around here that I've never met, and they kind of just recognize my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think one girl said, I listen to your voice every night when I'm falling asleep. A little bit creepy. But I know you guys now, so it's okay. I'm from the USA in Chicago. I've been in Korea for probably over 10 years, and I've been working with Mr. Lee for about as long. What else? I have a New Year's resolution. It's that I'm not going to eat any potato chips the entire year, so don't try to give me any potato chips, anybody. But yeah, other than that, I think that's about all. Any questions? I'm shy too, so you don't have to ask.
Alright. 그래요. 그렇습니다. 그래서 네이 선생님 굉장히 꼼꼼하시고 또 실력도 좋으신 분께서 같이 합류를 하셨는데 오늘 그래서 어떻게 수업을 진행을 해볼 거냐면요. First of all, we brought an article for you guys. 그래서 지금 그 3쪽으로 되어 있었던 자료 있죠? article 가지고요. 한번 쭉 공부를 해볼 거예요. 좀 점증적으로 읽기로 시작을 해서 뭐 어휘 공부해보고 써보고 그리고 말을 해보고요. 내일은 또 듣는 걸로 시작을 해서 어휘 공부해보고 써보고 또 발음 교정해보고 이렇게 반복이 되는 수업 구성이다라고 보시면 됩니다. 출석 관련한 정보도 제가 좀 수업 전반적인 여러분들의 그 매니지먼트는 제가 담당을 하고 있어요. 그래서 수업 관련된 이런 자료나 이런 것도 다 제가 보내드릴 거고 그리고 또 한 가지 필기하는 거 있죠. 수업 중에 필기하는 거 그거 제가 다 정리해서 역시 쉐어해 드릴 겁니다. 그러니까 들으실 때 막 못 적겠어서 막 적느라 내용을 정작 이해 못 하시는 그런 일 없도록 편하게 들어주세요. 제가 정리해서 다 보내드리겠습니다. 그래서 네이트 선생님 말씀하시는 게 있으면 제가 필요한 것들 여기다 정리를 그때그때 즉석 타이핑을 해서 정리를 해드릴 테니까 너무 바쁘게 안 적으셔도 돼요. 자, 그럼 alright, let me open this file. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about breakfast. Did you have breakfast today?
I did.
How was it?
It was not good. I just ate a piece of cake.
Cake?
Yeah,
that sounds
that
a
was
little bit
it.
unhealthy.
No, but yeah, I was like rushing out of my house this morning, so I just grabbed a cake and that was it. What was yours?
I had a bowl of cereal. It was pretty healthy cereal. It was non-GMO.
No.
So
No
it's
sugar.
It's like organic
Okay.
cereal.
Mm-hmm. Does it taste good though?
It's not bad. There's a little bit of cinnamon flavor, so it's
Okay.
a little bit sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Very filling.
Alright, 그렇습니다. 그래서 the most important meal of the day 하면 보통 이제 원어민들은 you talked about breakfast 바로 이제 이해가 되거든요. The most important meal of the day 하면 그래서 오늘 아침 식사에 대한 내용을 한번 해보겠습니다. Alright, so you want to start the first paragraph, Nate?
Okay.
Yeah, so Nate's gonna read the paragraph and explain it in English, and when deemed necessary, I might just hop in and add some more explanations, either in Korean or in English. Okay.
Most Americans are used to being told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you skip it, as the wisdom goes, a slew of ugly things will happen. You'll overeat the rest of the day, you'll gain weight, you won't be able to concentrate on work or school, and you'll get hangry. Okay, so this paragraph, they start out, don't get distracted, they say most Americans, but I think that's just because the audience of this article is American, so we're not trying to be self-centered or anything. I think it applies to everybody. It says Americans are used to being told. Now here, used to is in bold. This is a very common expression, and it just means to be accustomed to. So when something happens to you very often, it's no longer as difficult as it was in the beginning, or it's no longer as shocking. Maybe you have to get up at 5 a.m. The first day, getting up at 5 a.m. is going to be really difficult. But if you do it every day, it's not so bad, assuming you go to bed at a responsible time. So get used to something. So not so bad as it used to be. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day. I'm sure you guys have heard similar advice, how you should have a really good breakfast. If you skip it, so skip it, of course, you probably know is not doing it. Like skipping class is something you should never do. Never skip class. As the wisdom goes, or wisdom's kind of like common sense. I think you guys say like 상식 or something like that. A slew of or a bunch of ugly, here ugly just meaning bad things will happen. So bad things will happen if you don't eat breakfast. You'll overeat the rest of the day, eating too much. You'll gain weight, won't be able to concentrate on work or school. You'll get hangry. I don't know if you have seen hangry before. This is a relatively new word, but I have been seeing it a lot over the last year or so. Do you have any idea what does that mean? Hangry. Does it look familiar?
Any guesses?
That's right. It's a combination. Hungry plus angry equals hangry. It sounds a little bit silly, but like I said, I'm seeing this word all over the place these days. So it's the idea that if you don't eat, you're going to start getting really angry, grumpy. You're going to start, I see everybody nodding, and me too, I'm guilty of being angry sometimes. So I try to get that breakfast in.
Alright. 좋습니다. 그래서 지금 we've covered the first paragraph, and I think by this time, by now, you guys got the idea about how this class going to be conducted, right? 여기에 지금 제가 쭉 적어드렸어요. 몇 가지만 좀 덧붙여 보자면, we have skip class. You can also say play hooky, right? Playing hooky means you don't go to class and go somewhere else and just goof around, having fun. You know, like doing something else, right? Playing hooky, right? 뭐 이런 표현도 참고로 흔히들 이제 우리가 뭐 땡땡이 친다 그러죠. 땡땡이 치다. 땡땡이 치다. 뭐 이런 표현들, 그렇죠?
What do students do when they play hooky? Where's the good place to go?
I've never done that before, so I don't
know. Of course, teachers. What about you guys? Who's done that? They don't want to admit. They don't want to confess. Right
maybe they go to karaoke or something. Like especially if you're a high school student, pretty much that's where you go, I guess. Or a movie theater, maybe.
Movie theater's good.
Yeah. Okay. 자, 이런 표현들 있고요. Again, 이거 다 정리해서 나중에 파일 share 해드릴 거예요. 이렇게 핸드폰으로 보실 수 있게요. Alright. Yeah. So slew of 할 때 발음 slew예요. slew of. 자, 이런 것도 잘 정리해 두시고요. Okay. So, any questions so far? 질문은 중간중간에 편하게 해주시면 돼요. 만약에 if you're going too fast, let us know so that we can slow down for you guys. It's all about like helping you to learn, not just, you know. 그래서 편하게 조금 너무 빠르다, 이해 안 되는 거 있으면 민망해하지 마시고 멈춰서 질문하세요. 배우러 오신 거니까 편하게요. Alright, so let's move on to the second paragraph then. While this mentality라고 하는 거는요. 많은 분들이 이제 mentality라 그러면 좀 멘탈이라는 좀 그 컨글리시 때문에 이게 무슨 말인가 싶어 하시는 분들이 많은데 좀 약간 마음가짐 또는 자세 이런 쪽에 가까워요. mentality. 어쩌고 저쩌고 mentality 이렇게 하면 뭐 이런 거 있죠. 예를 들면 losers mentality 뭐 이런 거 생각해 볼 수 있어요. losers mentality 하면 항상 내 탓이 아니고 뭐 적의 날 지게 했어. 뭐 심판이 제대로 안 본 거야. 뭐 이런 식으로 하는 그런 사고 방식, 그런 태도가 losers mentality라고 흔히들 얘기를 해요. 만약에 내가 it's all my fault. I didn't train hard enough. 뭐 이런 식으로 인정하면 that's maybe a winner's mentality. 그렇죠? Right. 그렇죠. 자, 그런 부분들이 좀 있고요. 그럼 여기서는 이제 마음가짐이라고 보시면 되겠네요. 그죠? 그래서 so while this mentality 여기서 말한 이 mentality라고 하는 거는 eat breakfast guys라고 하는 이런 mentality요. 이런 마음가짐이 has stuck around and has been there for a while. 그래서 좀 꽤 오랫동안 있어 왔다라는 말입니다. stick에서 온 거죠. 달라붙다. 쭉 달라붙어서 계속 온 거예요. Another ideology around breakfast has emerged라고 했는데, 자, merge는 합치는 거, emerge는 떨어져서 떠오르는 걸 얘기를 합니다. 그래서 이제 해가 떠오르는 것 같은 거 생각해 보시면 될 것 같아요. merge는 하나가 돼서 해가 지는 거고, emerge는 해가 뿅 하고 나오는 거예요. 그래서 emerged 생겨났다. Another ideology around breakfast라고 하면 이 아침 식사에 대한 또 다른 어떤 기조가 생겨났는데요. 최근에 thanks to the upswing은 이제 증가세입니다. 증가세 위로 휙 올라가는 거죠. of intermittent fasting이라고 했습니다. intermittent이라는 말이 좀 어려운데 intermittent 간헐적 단식 얘기를 하는 거예요. Fasting. Breakfast means to break fast. Fasting. 그래서 fasting은 굶는다라는 거죠. So overnight you don't eat anything because you're asleep. But then the first meal of the day, which is breakfast, when you eat it, you break fasting, right? 그래서 breakfast. Intermittent fasting, 간헐적 단식이 요즘 느는 바람에, which in its most popular form promotes fasting for 16 hours a day. Why would you do that, to yourself? I don't know. What's the have you ever heard of it? Oh, like, or someone ever actually put them into practice?
I think people have. I have experimented with this a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So it's the idea that I've heard. I don't know if you guys are familiar with sports or MMA, like UFC. Do you guys know George St. Pierre, a famous champion? Anyway, the point is he's a great athlete, but he said that he'll do training in the morning and still not eat anything.
Wow.
He says that we really don't need as many calories as we tend to eat, so you can actually get a lot done without it. So some healthy people are advocates of the idea. They believe it could work.
Interesting. Right? So fasting, not eating anything for 16 hours a day out of 24 hours. That's kind of extreme to me, but breakfast is being eaten later. 자라고 했는데, 그래서 이제 금식을 많이 하는 그런 게 유행이다 보니까 아침 식사를 먹는 시간도 좀 늦춰지고 있다라고 했죠. If at all. 자, 이런 표현들 되게 좀 잘 파악하시는 게 좋아요. If at all 이라는 말은 무슨 말이냐면 먹기나 하면요. 그러니까 대부분 a lot of people skip breakfast. And if they do eat breakfast, they eat it later than before. 그런 말이에요. If at all이라는 말에 좀 다른 예를 들어드릴게요. 이해하기 쉽게. A lot of young folks these days take jobs that they're overqualified for. If at all, they get a job. They get a job that they're overqualified for. If at all, 조금 이해가 되실는지 모르겠어요. 요즘 젊은 사람들은 되게 본인의 능력, 예를 들면 박사예요. 박사인데, so when you have a doctorate degree, you'll still apply for, I don't know, janitor's job, 뭐 이런 거. janitor라 그러면 건물 청소 같은 거 하는 거죠. 그러면 doctor's degree 가지고 거기 가면 you're overqualified. 너무 내가 이미 해놓은 게 많은데 그렇게 이제 하는 거죠. If at all이라는 말이 이제 담겨 있는 건 if they do find a job, if they're lucky enough to find a job, the job is not good enough for them. 이런 말을 하고 있는 겁니다. If at all, 좀 느낌 오세요? If at all. 대부분 안 그렇지만 그렇다 해도 이래요라는 말이에요. 대부분 아침을 안 먹지만 먹으면 늦게 먹어요. 이렇게 parallel이 느껴지시죠? Alright. So back to where we were. And like breakfast, intermittent fasting is thought to have a number of benefits from cellular repair to weight loss라고 했는데요. 이렇게 간헐적인 단식은 아침 식사랑 마찬가지로 여러 건강상의 혜택이 있다라고 이렇게 말이 되어지는데 뭐 예를 들어 보자면 어떤 세포가 다시 재생되고 그리고 또 손상된 세포의 재생과 또 체중 감량이라고 하는 그런 혜택들이 많이 있다. 자, 이렇게 보시면 되겠습니다. Alright, any questions? Am I too fast or too slow? All right, good. Okay, all right. Take over, Nate.
Okay. So, how important is breakfast really? Let's take a closer look at what the science and the experts have to say. So the argument for eating breakfast. Breakfast has an interesting history. Up until the 19th century, people didn't think much about it. They just ate what they had. That was usually leftovers from dinner the night before. But the perfect storm of factors elevated breakfast to its most important meal of the day category. Okay. So we're the first part, argument for eating breakfast. That means, have you ever heard pros and cons? Pros is the good points, right? So that you can say the argument for something. That means the good points about it, the pros. So they're going to tell us here why it might be a good idea to eat breakfast. And we're starting with a little bit of history. I know history class is a little bit boring, but here it talks about up until the 19th century. That means so until that point. So before the 19th century, people didn't think much about it. So if I say didn't think much about it, it just means they probably didn't care. They didn't really think about, today we worry so much about nutrition and balanced diet and calories, and there's a lot of science involved. Back then, nobody really cared. They didn't think about it. Instead, they just ate what they had. What they had is what's available. So I guess if you're living on a potato farm, you're going to eat potatoes for breakfast probably every day. I love potatoes, but I don't know about you guys. But they just ate what they had. Or maybe you all sometimes just eat what you have if mom didn't go shopping and you just look through the refrigerator, there's some leftover. Speaker also here mentioned leftovers. So that's the remains from a previous meal. So we had dinner, turkey dinner last night. Today there's some leftover. We didn't finish it all. So we eat the leftovers. Then it says the perfect storm of factors. A perfect storm is not about weather. It just means a series of situations occur at the same time, which makes some negative outcome even worse. So it's different factors. So we'll say 3 different things happening at the same time or more could make something or could aggravate a situation. I think what would be a good example of that? Maybe you feel sick because maybe the weather is bad and you were not getting enough exercise, you're not eating well. All these things in conjunction, they're going to result in you're going to feel a little bit ill, right? Okay.
Alright, 좋습니다. 그래서 뭐 굉장히 좀 특이한 여러분 낯설어 할 만한 그런 표현도 많이 나왔는데요. Yeah. 여기 이런 phrase도 있죠. 실제로 여러분들이 바로 픽업해서 쓸 수 있는 게 우리 시작했던 부분. So 여기서 뭐뭐뭐 have to say, right? The subject of this verb phrase can be a thing, like in the sentence. It can be science, the science, or it can be people, like scientists. 우리가 그래 네 말도 한번 드러나 보자. 뭐 예를 들어서 you had an argument with someone. And you told the person your side of story. 난 이래서 화가 났어. 뭐 이래서 서운했어. Now let's hear what you have to say. 무슨 말 할 말 있으면 해봐. 이럴 때 할 말이라고 할 때 what someone has to say. 이 phrase를요 바로 픽업해서 써보시면 되게 좋아요. What someone has to say 하면 뭐뭐뭐가 하는 말입니다. I don't care about what people have to say about me. I just love myself. 예를 들면 I don't care about what people have to say about me because I love myself. 그런 식으로 쓸 수 있어요. 여기서 지금 여러분들이 좀 픽업해야 되는 부분이 여기예요. 그냥 I don't care what people say 대신에 I don't care what people have to say. 이렇게 조금 바꿔보는 거예요. 이 부분을 좀 눈여겨봐 주시면 좋을 것 같아요. Alright, and about the perfect storm, though. 약간 좀 풀어보자면 여러 가지 악재들이 합쳐져서 일어나는 그런 조건. 그래서 상황이 더 안 좋아지는 그런 상황을 얘기를 합니다. 그렇죠? 자, 그 정도면 될 것 같고요. Okay. Any questions? 이해 안 되는 부분이나 제가 한국어로 풀어줬으면 좋겠는 그런 거 있나요? Okay. Alright. 넘어가 보죠. So women started entering the workforce. Enter the workforce는 뭐 취업 시장에 나서다 또는 뭐 직업 전선에 나서다 이 정도로 해볼 수 있을 것 같아요. 그때는 the workforce 이렇게 보통 얘기를 합니다. In the 20th century, which meant they needed something quick, right? Because when you have to go to work, there's not enough time to prepare a meal for your children and your husband. And nutritious to give their kids before they left for the day, right? Just note that we're talking about in the 20th century, right? We're talking about old days when guys didn't do much of household work, right? So that's what the context is here. 그래서 빨리 영양가 있는 거 그렇다고 막 애들한테 막 정푸드를 줄 수는 없으니까요, 그죠? 아침에 a bowl of Oreo 이렇게 준 다음에 Mommy's busy, so take care, bye bye, I'll see you at 7. 뭐 이럴 수는 없으니까 정푸드 줄 수는 없으니까 빨리 되고 또 대신에 영양가도 나름 있는 걸 줘야 했다. And with the Industrial Revolution, 산업혁명이죠. People started worrying that standing and sitting in one 저 오른쪽 상단 쭉 올라가 보면 place all day would lead to indigestion. 해서 소화불량이 일어날 거다. 한 곳에 너무 오래 있거나 하면 소화불량이 있을 수 있다. And they believed a heavy, healthy breakfast could help that. 이라고 했는데 그래서 이 아침을 heavy는 많이 먹는 걸 heavy 하다고 합니다. A heavy breakfast. 너무 헤비해 뭐 이렇게 말을 할 수 있잖아요. 아침에 예를 들어서 뭐 갈비탕을 먹는다라든지 그러면 that's a little bit of too heavy breakfast for me. Healthy. 그래서 든든하게 많이 그리고 건강한 식단으로 음식을 먹으면 좀 이런 문제 소화불량 문제를 해결할 수 있다고 믿었다네요. Okay. So until the 19th century, people didn't really think about breakfast. By the 20th century, they believed they have to eat a lot of healthy food in the morning so that they can digest food throughout the day. 그 정도가 되겠습니다. Alright, 여기까지. Any questions? You good?
You guys are smart.
Yeah.
I'll take the next one.
Okay.
These days, if you search studies on breakfast, Google will yield pages and pages of results. People have been fascinated by the first meal of the day for centuries. And for the most part, results have found that breakfast is pretty important. Okay. I think we're all familiar with Google. We've all done Google searches before. But here they said Google will yield pages and pages of results. So sometimes we use this word yield to mean output or the result of something. You can use this when you're cooking. I want to make some cookies. The recipe, I'll follow the recipe from the book. It'll say this recipe yields a dozen cookies. So it's the result or the output. So if you want to sound fancy, you could say yield. People have been fascinated by the first meal of the day. Fascinated, I think you guys know, but it just means it really captures your attention. It's really interesting. Something is fascinating. And for the most part, this is a pretty common expression too that I like to use sometimes. For the most part means just most of the time or usually. So we'd say, for the most part, I do my homework on time, right? It means usually I'm a pretty good student, right? Do the homework on time. Results have found that breakfast is pretty important. So this tells me maybe that what science there has been says that eating breakfast is a good idea. The science is always changing, isn't it? Right? If you read an article one day, one glass of wine is good for you, and the next day, no, it will kill you. Don't do it.
Yeah, same thing with coffee.
Right. Oh, coffee. Coffee's notorious for that. It's like every other day, different findings when it comes to the health effects of coffee. Do you drink a lot of coffee?
I do. I don't know, at least 3 grande size cups of coffee per day. Or else I could not survive a day. So, somehow I need to find how to get through the day. So, yeah.
This is my addiction, the bosang nokcha. I don't know,
Still
it's also
contains
got
lots
caffeine.
of
I
caffeine,
think it
I
does,
guess.
but I don't know. When I drink coffee, I get really jittery, like really shaky. So I don't really like that. So tea is for me.
Yeah, you feel kind of sick when you drink too much coffee.
I do. Yeah, I get like a little queasy. It means my stomach feels a little uncomfortable. I'm weak. You guys drink a lot of coffee? There's a coffee over there. It's as big as your head.
How many cups of coffee do you drink per day? A cup. That's you're still fine. I'm addicted to coffee, so all right. 오케이. 네, 그렇네요. 그래서 대부분의 뭐 좋은 표현들 말씀 주셨고 yield라는 거 조금 우리가 일상생활에 접목시켜서 쓸 수 있는 것도 몇 가지 알려드릴게요. 일단 yield하면 네, 뭐 result가 나오다 이런 말로도 쓸 수 있고요. 제가 말씀드렸다시피 그 좀 colloquial한 거, colloquial하다 그러면 좀 말이 어려워서 그런데 회화체의라는 뜻입니다. 앞으로 많이 들어보시게 될 거예요. Colloquial expressions or fancy라는 말도 아까 하셨는데 fancy는 좀 고급을 얘기를 하는 겁니다. fancy, 고급에 만약에 여러분들이 쓰는 말이 되게 어려운 말이에요. 그러면 fancy words가 되는 거고 식사를 하러 갔는데 레스토랑이 되게 비싸요. 뭐 샐러드 하나에 막 5만 원이래요. 그러면 Okay, why'd you bring me to this fancy restaurant when I'm broke? 뭐 이렇게 할 수 있겠죠, 그죠? 그래서 fancy는 되게 좋은, high quality 이런 걸 얘기를 하고요. Alright, back to the verb yield. Yield라는 거를 조금 더 colloquial한 차원에서 설명 덧붙여 보자면, 운전하다가 you might yield to another driver. 이러면 다른 운전자에게 또는 차량에게라고도 할 수 있겠죠. 에게 양보하다. 그냥 please 먼저 가세요. 이렇게 하는 거. In Seoul, I don't see that happening as much, but you know, like there's no stop signs in Seoul, or if there are, people don't care. You want to talk about the importance of stop signs in the States?
I think stop signs are very important, but in Korea, I just use my hand as a stop sign. Please stop! Don't hit me. We have a. It's generally accepted law in the U.S. that pedestrians have the right of way. That means if you're walking on foot, then any driver should stop for you and let you go through for safety. But is it going to sound negative if I say Korea is a little bit different?
It is widely different, I
But it's
believe.
not that bad.
You know, I recently got back from Vietnam, and I just miss Seoul so much. You know, like all the like crazy bike drivers. Yeah,
Sounds dangerous.
it
But
is
did you
dangerous.
try
They're, like,
riding the bike there?
Never, I wouldn't dare. They were like 10-lane. It was a boulevard. But there was no traffic light.
Okay.
Imagine
I've
how
heard,
crazy it can be.
Some Asian countries are like China. I heard is kind of bad.
But
also.
it's worse than China. Anyways, so stop sign 요거 있죠. 그래서 stop sign은 원래 보이면 무조건 서야 돼요. Even when there's no cars, no pedestrians around you, you just stop. That's the law in the States. 그래서 처음 미국 가서 운전하시는 분들은 막 차 없네 하면서 빵 하면 뒤에서 이제 경찰이 따라붙습니다. Or you might get a fine. 벌금을 내야 될 수도 있어요. 이 얘기를 지금 이제 한 게 뭐 whether there's a stop sign or not, when another driver arrives at an intersection before you, you will yield to that driver. 트래픽 이게 신호등이 없을 때 먼저 오면 그냥 기다리는 거예요. 지나가라고. 그죠? 이제 그런 일종의 에티켓 같은 것도 있어요. Yield to another driver. 자, 이렇게 자동사죠. 이 경우에는 yield 한 다음에 아무것도 없잖아요. 목적어가. Or else you can add some use it with an object like yield your seat to an old person or to a senior citizen, let's say. 그래서 you can say yield your seat to someone else 하면 자리를 양보하다. 특히 이제 when you're using a public transport, you might want to yield your seat to the old and weak. 그죠? 그래서 뭐 어린아이나 뭐 pregnant women이나 있으면 you want to yield your seat. 그럴 때 쓸 수 있죠.
I think that's something nice in Korea's transit system. You guys have the pink chairs, like
Right.
노약자석, and so I think that's pretty cool.
오케이, 그렇습니다. 자, 그러면 이제 한번 계속 내려가 볼게요. 1999 study. 자, 이런 것들도요. 항상 영어로 공부하실 때 제가 이 수업에서 정보도 드리지만 좀 방법론적인 얘기도 드릴 거예요. 어떻게 하는 게 조금 효율적인 영어 학습법이냐에 대해서도 한국어로 번역을 해보세요. 뭐 머릿속으로 해보셔도 좋고 타이핑을 해보셔도 좋고 써보셔도 좋아요. 그럼 이걸 해보면 이렇게 나오겠죠. 1999년에 진행된 한 연구에 따르면 이런 식으로 나올 겁니다. 그걸 주어를 지금 잡는 게 a 1999 study라고 쓸 수 있다라는 얘기예요. 매번 in 1999 이렇게 하지 말고 try to turn it into an adjective. 1999 study 이렇게 앞에서 그냥 수식어로 바꿔버리는 거죠. It's a great approach. 그런 식으로 연습 많이 하다 보면 조금 어색한 장문을 피할 수 있어요. 내가 이런 걸 많이 왔다 갔다 해보면 익숙해지거든요. So a 1999 study published in the journal Physiological Behavior, 생리 행동이라는 journal, 어떤 학술지에 실린 1999년에 진행된 연구에 따르면 individuals who didn't eat breakfast were exhausted by noon. 12시쯤 되면, 낮 12시쯤 되면 완전 에너지가 다 고갈됐고 and performed worse on memory test라고 했는데 이제 기억력도 좀 이렇게 검사를 해보면 좀 떨어지게 나왔다라는 건데요. Here 여기서는 이제 preposition이 on이 쓰였다라는 걸 잘 봐주세요. Test나 exam always use it with the preposition on. I did poorly on the test. I scored high or low on the test, on the exam. 그래서 you did pretty well on the exam. 이런 식으로 시험, 테스트 전부 다 on입니다. preposition 따로 뭐 사전을 열어보는 것도 비효율적이고요. 매번 이렇게 외우는 것도 조금은 비효율적일 수가 있어요. 그래서 좀 특징을 잡는 거예요. 시험이라는 성격의 단어들은 다 on이랑 붙는구나. 이런 식으로 묶어보시면 조금 효율이 높아집니다. Similarly, a 2013 study, 마찬가지죠. 형용사로 바꿨어요. 여러분 나중에 꼭 해보세요. A 2013 study found that kids under the age of 13 who didn't eat breakfast perform worse, again, on test than kids who did. I think the last sentence was pretty straightforward. 굉장히 좀 클리어한 것 같죠? 13년에도 13세 under the age of 13이니까 13세 미만의 아이들도 동일한 결과가 나왔다 정도로 가시면 되겠네요. Alright. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Is anybody getting hungry by this article?
Or hangry? Alright. Yeah.
Okay.
전치사죠. Preposition, sorry. 전치사는 앞전 불치 앞에 둔다 해서 prepose preposition이에요. preposition 아니고요. 발음 preposition 전치사. 어근을 같이 보시면 조금 쉬워요. 네, 좋은 질문이었고요. Anything else? Okay.
Okay. Moving on. A small study published this year found that people who ate porridge and milk in the morning digested, burned, and metabolized carbohydrates better than those who skipped breakfast. And on the weight gain front, a 2017 study found that people who ate breakfast 4 times a week or more had more stable BMIs over a 5-year period than people who regularly skipped breakfast. Okay, it's getting a little bit of science here. The good news is that when we read science words, it's not expected that we understand all the science behind it. Sometimes we can just get a more vague general understanding, but I'll try to explain some of this. So here, according to the study, people who ate porridge and milk, is that a good breakfast? Sounds good to me. They digested. So I think you guys have heard digested before. Earlier today, we heard about indigestion, which is a bad thing. But digesting is just the process. You know, we take food into our body, right? We chew it, we swallow it, then it goes to your stomach. What happens after that? Well, it has to get digested. That means the food gets broken down, separated maybe into nutrients and waste, and then kind of processed. You know, the body uses parts of it and others goes to waste. Feels like biology class, doesn't it? So also in that same sentence, we have burned and metabolized. So burning, think about energy, right? You put fuel in your car, the fuel gets burned to yield the energy, the result. So same with the food in your body. You know, you have to burn the calories or burn the carbohydrates to use the energy. And metabolize, yeah, this is just it's a word we hear a lot when we're talking about digestion, or so the noun is metabolism. So it's about how your body just processes the food, the nutrition, what your body does with it. I know it's a little bit confusing, but let me give you a better example. Metabolism as a noun, we can say there's a person with a high metabolism, they can eat a lot and never gain weight. We hate those people, right? If you have a low metabolism, that means you eat just a little bit and you gain like 5 kilograms, right? What's going on there? So high metabolism, low metabolism. So it's about the efficiency of your body breaking down the food and using the food. But you know, you're not going to be expected to use this word in daily conversation every day, but you'll probably see it again in articles. Okay. Later on in this paragraph, we have the expression on the weight gain front. Now, really, we could remove weight gain and put in anything in there. The expression is really on the blank front. And that just means, you know, when it comes to, if we're talking about a certain aspect of something, you say on this front. I think later, just to reference, I put an example in here later where maybe it was people planning for a wedding. So I don't know the wedding invitations. I haven't decided the food. I don't know, but on the music front, you know, when it comes to music, yeah, we've hired somebody to do, got a DJ to do the music. So just I want to say, talking about a specific aspect of something. Let's see, what else? There's another kind of scientific term in this paragraph. It's BMI. That stands for body mass index. This is kind of similar to weight. Usually, you know, we always talk about losing weight, gaining weight, but a better metric for, you know, how healthy you are is body mass index. So it's, you know, given your size or your height, how much or what percentage of your body is fat or muscle. So, you know, weight is not always the most reliable indicator of how healthy you are, right? I mean, you could weigh a lot but you could be all muscle, like a bodybuilder, and so that's not necessarily unhealthy, right? So body mass index, I think, is just a more reliable way to figure out if you're at a healthy weight or not. So it has to do with your height, your frame, your size. So that's probably why they use that here. Okay, I think that's about it. Oh, stable. They said stable BMI. Stable just means not fluctuating, not changing too much. So stable, pretty regular, right? I think most people accept that it's not good if your weight's going up and down, right? That could be a little bit dangerous. Okay.
오케이, 좋습니다. 네, 아주 깔끔하게 잘 설명 주셨는데요. 한국어로 조금만 설명 덧붙여 도와드릴게요. 자, 보시면 alright. porridge라고 하는 건 말 그대로 좀 the closest I can find in Korean culture would be 죽. 그래서 죽 약간 이렇게 좀 이렇게 갈아가지고요. 이렇게 삼키기 좋게 만든 이제 그런 것들이 porridge라고 보시면 되고요.
Can I say something
Yeah.
about porridge? Like, okay, juk in Korea is really delicious and really good, but in America, if you have porridge, it's not so good. It's really bland. So the impression, you know, if I'm thinking porridge, it sounds like a meal for poor people a little
It
bit.
looks so tasty. Like
like I
someone
said, yeah, it's
puked
just-
on it.
my mom used to give me that sometimes when I was a kid. It wasn't very exciting, but the Bonjuk restaurant here is very great restaurant. I love it. You got all sorts of stuff going on in there.
네, 그렇죠? 그래서 porridge 이런 것들도 좀 있고요. Okay. Other than that, 신진대사라는 거 뭐 다들 잘 아실 거라고 생각해요. 그래서 그냥 뭐 신진대사를 개선한다 그러잖아요. 그럼 이제 먹었을 때 그 열량을 아주 효율적으로 잘 태워서 so that they will not result in body fat. 그래서 이제 체지방으로 남지 않게 하는 뭐 이런 것들이죠. 그래서 신진대사가 can be high or low. So you can boost or you can also increase your metabolism. 이것도 마찬가지 쓸 수 있어요. You can say increase your metabolism. 이렇게 되면 많이 먹어도 몸이 빨리 분해를 해서 잘 이제 태워버리니까 살이 찌지 않는 거죠. front는 그걸 생각해 보시면 돼요. front라 그러면 어떤 말 그대로 선입니다. 선. 그래서 한국을 생각을 해보면요. 한반도는 반도잖아요. It's a peninsula. So we have three sides, right? 그래서 이 한쪽이 front인 거예요. 그 front는 그런 개념입니다. 선. 그래서 뭐 좀 여러분들이 이해를 돕기 위해 또는 기억을 조금 더 오래 가져가시라고 cold front 이거를 한랭전선이라고 해요. 선. 그리고 어떤 battlefront 이게 이제 말 그대로 전장의 이제 전선을 얘기를 하는 거죠. 그래서 이런 개념이에요. 그 front라는 단어는 선 이런 개념으로 접근하시면 쉽습니다. Interesting about BMI is that the way different countries calculate it is different. Like
I did not know
it
that.
varies from country to country. No. Actually, the formula is the same, but here in Korea, when you have like the BMI score, for example, I don't know like the exact number, but let's say 150, then you might be considered overweight in the States, but here in Korea, you're considered obese medically. So that's a little bit of difference. 그래서 이제 BMI를 계산하는 방법은 이제 표준화가 되어 있는데 그 숫자를 가지고요. 한국에서는 그 조금 더 낮게 봐요. 이거를. 요거 넘어가면 비만 이렇게 보는데 똑같은 스코어가 나온 사람이 미국에서 병원을 가면 overweight 또는 healthy weight 이 정도의 판정을 받을 수가 있어. So it's a little bit of difference, I guess. I'm not sure about other Asian countries, but I do know that Korea and the States they have different systems.
I don't think I trust the American version because we have a lot of issues with obesity and whatnot.
I guess like does that have to do with like food industry lobbying?
It could be. Yeah, there's a lot of. Yeah, that's true. Lobby. There's. We have a lot of preservatives in the food, and so it's hard to really educate people about that. I don't know though. We're like really unhealthy. But I'm really proud that we are no longer the heaviest country in the world. As of a year or two ago, I think Mexico passed us.
Oh, really?
Yay!
Interesting.
Yay, USA! We're not the least healthy.
Interesting. Okay. Pretty much that's it. 그 fluctuate이라는 동사는 그냥 완전히 이렇게 출렁이는 걸 얘기를 하는 거예요. Fluctuate. Your performance may fluctuate, or stock prices may fluctuate. 그죠? 그래서 내가 오늘은 뭔가 일이 되게 잘 되다가 내일은 막 바닥치고 이런 거야. 업무 능력이 또는 주가도 올라갔다가 바닥치고 fluctuate 이렇게 할 수 있는 겁니다. Alright. 오케이. 여기까지 질문 혹시 있으실까요? Yeah. 오케이. So 어떤 말을 한 거냐면 이런 거 있죠. red meat하고 아니면 그런 다른 types of meat 이런 거 얘기를 할 때 뭐 어떤 게 몸에 좋네, 어떤 게 안 좋네 이런 study results가 나온단 말이에요. But when you take a look at who sponsored that study, so for example, eating a lot of chickens will boost your metabolism. For example, let's say a study reached that kind of conclusion. But then the thing is like the chicken, a huge chicken maker or processed chicken food manufacturer sponsored that study. 그러면 조금 결과가 바뀌겠죠. 한국으로 치면 쉽게 이야기 말씀드리자면 치킨이 몸에 좋다라는 연구를 진행을 하는 대학 연구진을 하림 치킨이 돈을 댄 거예요. 그 연구에. 뭐 이런 것들이 있을 수 있겠죠. 그럼 제가 아까 러빙을 왜 얘기를 했느냐면 사람들이 조금 the more people become aware of health issues, the healthier food options they're likely to go for. 그렇죠? 그러니까 이거 먹으면은 너 빨리 죽어. 이게 막 뉴스에 맨날 나와요. 그러면 사람들이 어떻게 하겠어요? 좀 더 막 vegetable, 좀 더 이렇게 좋은 거 먹으려고 할 거 아니에요. 그럼 지금 미국에서 BMI 스코어의 기준이 한국보다 높게 잡혀 있다는 거는 그렇게 먹어도 되는 것처럼 시스템이 갖춰져 있다는 거죠. 그럼 그거를 누가 영향을 주겠느냐? lawmakers하고 그 health department, the department of health 그런 쪽에서 관리를 할 거 아니에요. 거기 다 이렇게 연결이 되어 있다 보니까 만약에 뭐 예를 들어 미국의 하림 치킨 같은 곳이 의회에 돈을 막 엄청 퍼부으면서 BMI 낮추지 맙시다, 기준 낮추지 맙시다 이렇게 하면 가는 거예요. 그 얘기를 한 겁니다. 너무 이 긴 얘기를 짧게 얘기했죠 제가. 죄송해요. My bad. Yeah. So, okay. Any other questions? Alright, good. 좋습니다. 자, 그러면 다음 패러그래프 한번 처리해 볼게요. 계속 가보죠. Alright, so improved memory and BMI may not be the only benefits of a full breakfast. 그렇죠? 그래서 아침을 잘 먹는 것이 뭐 혜택이 비단 기억력 개선 또는 체질량 지수 개선에서 끝나는 게 아닙니다. A study published in the journal Appetite found that go without이라 그러면 그냥 give up 한다는 거예요. 포기해 버린다. 아침을 안 먹는 게 has been linked to depression, 우울증과 상관이 있고요. 다시 말해서 우울증을 야기할 수 있다. And a 2013 study. 자, 이거 반복적으로 보시니까 이제 나중에 쓰실 수 있을 것 같죠? conducted in 2013만 쓰지 말고 a 2013 study. 이렇게 표현력을 넓혀 나가시는 거예요. In the Italian Journal of Pediatrics. Pediatrics는 여러분 그 단어 들어보셨나요? pedophile or pedophile이라고 하기도 하는데요. pedophile 들어보셨어요? 한국에서 성애자라는 말 많이 하죠. 소아 성애자를 pedophile이라고 해요. 줄여서 pedo, 영국에선 pedo 뭐 이렇게 하기도 합니다. pedo. 이게 어떻게 만들어진 단어냐면 patty는 child라는 뜻이고 phil이라는 거는 love라는 뜻이 있어요. 뭐 여기서 너무 확장하진 않을게요. 그냥 툭 뱉고 지나갈게요. philanthropist가 박애주의자, 자선사업가인 뜻이 feel in love여서 그래요. 그러면 아이를 사랑하는 사람이 소아성애자인 거죠. 다시 back to pediatrics. 아이의 건강을 돌보는 그런 의학 부문인 겁니다. 소아과예요. 소아과. 이렇게 어근을 보시면 돼요. PED, patty 하면 pedo 이렇게 하면 아이란 뜻이에요. 그래서 이탈리아 소아과 학술지에 실린 2013년 연구에 따르면 people who eat breakfast have better overall nutrient consumption and cognitive function이라고 했죠. 그래서 어떤 영양 섭취나 아니면 인지 기능에 있어서 더 좋은 결과가 나왔다 정도 보시면 되겠습니다. I think this paragraph was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and that about cognitive function.
Yeah.
I know it sounds a little scientific too, but don't we see this word all the time in a lot of different articles? So it's
Right.
probably a good one to remember, right? It's about the brain's brain efficiency. I see it a lot. So.
Yeah. 요거는 지금 네이트 선생님께서 말씀하셨던 것처럼 굉장히 중요한 단어입니다. Okay.
Okay. Moving on. Carolyn Brown, a New York-based nutritionist, said that in general she's pro-breakfast. Well, it doesn't have to be too big, but it has to be something within a few hours of waking up, she explained. I like clients to eat by 10 latest, or at the latest, and that's my personal rule too. Research shows that having protein early in the day can help with that mid-afternoon snack monster later. Ooh, monster's scary. So here we have the advice of an expert. She's a nutritionist, so it's like a scientist who studies nutrition. She said that in general, it's the meaning here is similar to what we learned earlier today for the most part. It means, mainly most of the time. In general, overall, she's pro-breakfast, and pro meaning supports something, right? So she thinks usually breakfast is a good idea, according to the scientists. So there you have it. She said it doesn't have to be too big, something within a few hours of waking up. So within a few hours is about a duration of time. So within a few hours of waking up just probably means within the first 2 to 3 hours after you wake up. So not too much longer after that. You'll hear this a lot too. People will give you a time frame. You ordered something on Amazon. It'll arrive within a few days or within 2 weeks, the delivery, right? She said, I like clients to eat by 10 latest. I think actually here it probably should be 10 at the latest. Sometimes when you say at the latest means that's, like the maximum amount of, or the longest you can wait. At the latest, at the most. Pretty common way of putting things. Let's see, we have protein. I think everybody knows protein, right? You guys know it's a scientific term. Nutrition. Bodybuilders like to have the protein shake, right? Clearly, I skipped that today. Then, what the speaker said later, the mid-afternoon snack monster? This is not really a common expression, but I think if we read the sentence in context, we can guess what they mean. It means in mid-afternoon, sometimes you start to feel like you want a snack, right? You get a little bit hungry. And that's probably one of the risky times when we start to reach for junk foods too. You know, that's maybe why they use a negative word like monster, because you know, if you're on a diet, you want to try to avoid those snacks, but you get these cravings or urges, a craving, like I feel like I really want to have a potato chip right now. And you can't have just one potato chip. That doesn't work. Once you have one, it's like, oh, one more, and then a whole bag. But the convenience store offers 1 + 1 on the potato chips, so you bought 2 bags, and you can't really stop. Okay, I'm just talking about myself here. You guys have more self-control than I do, I hope.
좋습니다. 그래서 snack monster, 약간 그 가상의 이런 좀 표현을 이렇게 빌려서 한 거예요. Alright, just a few things before move on. 여기 보면, okay, you can say pro라는 걸 언제 많이 쓰냐면 우리가 pro-life, pro-choice 이런 거 생각해 볼 수 있을 거예요. 낙태 얘기할 때, 그죠? 그래서 pro-life, it means that you're against any forms of abortion at any stage of pregnancy. 그래서 뭐 일단 2줄 나오면 그때부터는 손대면 안 돼 이렇게 생각하는 게 pro-life. Pro-choice means that it's for women to decide whether to actually give birth to that child or not, right? 그래서 pro-choice는 좀 여성의 선택권을 강조하는 그런 사람들을 얘기를 하죠. 형용사로 보통 얘기를 해요. I am pro-life 또는 pro-life demonstrators 뭐 이런 식으로 할 수 있겠죠. 그래서 pro-life, pro-choice. pro-life demonstrators라고 하면 낙태에 반대하는 집회 참석자들 뭐 정도가 되겠습니다. 그렇죠? 그래서 so pro-life demonstrators gathered in 광화문 to stage a protest. 해서 이제 좀 이렇게 시위를 했다. 뭐 이렇게 할 때 그 정도가 되겠고요. Alright, so pro and pro-choice, pro-life 이런 것들이 있어요. 뭐 꼭 it's not limited to those two expressions there. Pro anything can come after pro or so pro it can be pro Brexit or pro EU 뭐 이런 쪽으로 갈 수 있겠죠. 자, within하고 time이 나왔을 때랑 in하고 time이 나왔을 때랑 아까 within 2 days of placing the order 뭐 예를 들어서 주문하고 나서 이틀 안으로라는 거는 자, within은 어떤 의미냐면 그 정해진 기간 내란 뜻이고요. 그러니까 언제 deliver 될지 몰라요. Within 2 days of placing an order라고 하면 주문하고 이틀 내로 당장 아침에 주문했는데 저녁에 올 수도 있는 거고 다음날 아침에 올 수도 있는 거고 마지막 날 midnight 직전에 올 수도 있는 거고 이제 그런 게 within의 개념이라면 in은 정해진 기간 끝에라는 거예요. 그래서 이튿날째 온다 이겁니다. in 2 days라고 하면 주문하고 두 밤 지나고 와요라는 마음입니다. 자, 그렇게 이해를 하시면 되고요. 저는 이제 여기 밑에는 그 제가 정장을 많이 입다 보니까 이렇게 드라이 클리닉 같은 거 맡기잖아요. 그러면 전 항상 빨리 받고 싶죠. 그래서 언제 돼요? 이러면 지금 일이 많아가지고 at the earliest 이렇게 바꿔 쓸 수 있어요. At the earliest, maybe I can get your suits back by Monday. At the earliest, at the earliest. 빠르면 이렇고요. At the earliest는 좀 이런 거죠. 무리해서 하면 이 정도 될 수 있을 것 같다 할 때 쓰는 말이고 at the latest는 상대방이 재촉할 때 안심시키는 거예요. 그렇죠? 그래서 언제까지 되는 건데요? 이러면 늦어도 이번 달 말까지 꼭 해드릴게요. 이런 식으로 할 때 at the latest 이런 말 쓰시면 됩니다. 적재적소에 써보시고요. Alright, yeah. 마지막에 그 네이트 선생님이 he talked about his love for chips, which is decided he's trying to quit, right?
Yeah, so far have not had any chips this year as of yet.
Great, great. It's good to know. 그럴 때 can you relate to his story? 그죠? relate to or 그냥 이렇게 할 수도 있어요. sound familiar? 이렇게 물을 수도 있죠. sound familiar? Once you start a bag of chips, once I open a bag of chips, I can't stop. Sound familiar? 하면 여러분도 겪어보셨죠? 라든지 relate는 뭐뭐뭐의 이야기에 공감하다. 이런 말이요. 우리가 공감 능력을 얘기를 할 때 그런 거 있죠. 예전에 현대가의 한 인사가 그 버스 얼마냐? 누군지 실명은 거론하지 않겠으나 그지? 근데 얼마냐 이랬을 때 뭐 200원 하나에 아무튼 막 이랬나요? 아무튼 그런 식으로 말을 했어요. 그럼 어렸을 때부터 재벌가에서 자란 사람이 would he ever be able to understand or relate to the struggles of average folks or average people? 그냥 평민들의 삶을 이해할 수 있을까? 공감할 수 있을까? 이런 거고요. 내가 예전에 양다리 걸친 남자친구 여자친구한테 배신을 당해봤다. 근데 누가 그런 얘기를 해요. I can totally relate to your story. I've been there before, actually. 이렇게 말할 수 있는 겁니다. relate to. Okay. All right. So the case for 요 부분으로 넘어가 볼게요. The case for라고 하면 뭐뭐에 대한 찬성론이란 뜻이에요. For eating a later breakfast 해서 아침을 좀 늦게 먹으면 좋은 점 정도로 보시면 되겠죠. 아까 전에 pros and cons 기억하실 거예요. So what if you like to wait until you're settled in at your desk to eat breakfast? 그러면 이제 아침을 회사에 도착해가지고 자리 딱 잡았을 때 그때 먹고 싶다면 어떻게 해야 되는 건가요? 이렇게 말한 거죠. According to some research, by the way, research is non-countable. 그래서 never say a research. 그래서 어라고 하고 싶으면 그냥 replace it, use a study instead in the place of research. research는 불가산 명사예요. 그래서 앞에 어 같은 거 붙이지 않습니다. That may be just fine. 늦게 먹어도 안 죽어요. 뭐 이런 연구 결과 나왔다. One recent study found that increasing the amount of time between dinner and breakfast, also known as intermittent fasting, 그죠? intermittent fasting, 간헐적 단식이라고 알려진 저녁과 아침 사이에 시간을 늘리는 거 was a successful way to lose weight. 체중 감량에 도움이 되더라. The delay in breakfast, again, 제가 아까 말씀드렸던 거 전치사를 따로 뽑아가지고 공부하지 마시고요. 조합이 만들어졌을 때 같이 해보는데 여기서는 breakfast랑 in을 묶으시면 안 되죠. delay랑 in을 묶으셔야 되는 거예요. 뭐가 늦춰지면 이라고 할 때 delay in 이렇게 가는 거. 자꾸 이런 걸 내가 머릿속에 넣으려고 노력을 많이 해보세요. Wasn't anything crazy. Just 90 minutes later than usual. 그래서 뭐 crazy라고 하면 let's say you're having your first meal of the day at 3 p.m. That's extreme. 그렇지만 만약에 let's say you used to eat it at around 9ish in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, but then you push it back by 90 minutes, so 10:30. 그러면 9시에 먹다가 10시 반으로 툭 미룬 거니까 it's not that anything crazy. 라 그러면 뭐 그렇게 어마어마한 것도 아니었어요. 대단하게 바꾼 것도 없어요. 이런 말이 되겠죠. But the study is still noteworthy. 그래서 뭐 이렇게 더 극단적인 경우는 이 실험에서 조명하고 있지는 않지만 그래도 굉장히 시의성이 있다라는 말이 되겠고요. Course low blood sugar. 자, 이거 무슨 뜻일까요? 저혈당. 그죠? 말 그대로죠. 저혈당. 그냥 직역하는 거예요. 저혈당은 it's no joke. It's no joke. joke라는 거는 something that you cannot take seriously. 그러면 예를 들면 누군가 저에게 만약에 물어봐요. Hey Kim, what do you think about the TOEIC test? 이러면 honestly, I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke. 라 그러면 그게 뭐 시험이에요. 뭐 난이도를 얘기하는 게 아니라 제대로 평가할 수 있는지 허점이 많다라는 거 다들 알고 있잖아요. 그래서 그런 거 얘기할 때 I guess it's a joke. 그럼 반대로 가보면 It's no joke. 저혈당 물론 이 문제를 가볍게 보면 당연히 안 되죠라고 하고 있는 겁니다. 저혈당 가볍게 보면 안 되죠. And in some cases, eating late can make people feel cranky. cranky는 좀 약간 쉽게 화를 내는 거예요. easily irritated, or exhausted. 그래서 막 심술나고 그리고 또 빨리 피곤해지고 그런 경우도 있었다. The most important thing to do is listen to your body. Listen to your body. 제가 지금 여기서 your를 강조한 이유는 different people respond differently to changing environments and changing diets. 그러니까 내가 아침 식사를 예를 들어서 let's say you put off your breakfast by 90 minutes, but then you're extremely cranky and hangry and you're yelling at everyone you meet in the morning, then maybe it's a sign that you should stop doing that. 그래서 그런 게 있으면 하지 말라는 거죠. Okay? Good. Alright, 여기까지 질문 혹시 있으신 분? No? Alright. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Brown added that when it comes to intermittent fasting, she typically advises people to go for an earlier dinner rather than a later breakfast. I would rather people have a mid-morning breakfast and close the kitchen or finish eating at an earlier time, she said. I think the nighttime element of IF, that's intermittent fasting, or not eating close to bedtime is more important than delaying breakfast. Okay, so just kind of following up on the advice we heard earlier. Also, you'll see she advises people to go for an earlier dinner. I think we've heard that at least once before, the go for, meaning to choose, right? It's your choice. So you could say choose to have an earlier dinner rather than a later breakfast. This I've actually heard this kind of advice before, where people say, you have dinner at a reasonably early time, 6, 7 at the latest, but once you're finished with dinner, try not to snack at all before bedtime. That's the advice for people who are trying to lose a little bit of weight. I think I remember seeing that on the Oprah Winfrey show. You guys remember that show? Oprah was struggling to stop snacking. I'm sorry, Oprah. I shouldn't say that. I love Oprah. All right, so go for. Speaker uses this kind of expression, close the kitchen. Again, this is not really a common expression. The speaker's just using kitchen as a metaphor for what you're eating. So closing the kitchen just means, taking any opportunity to eat away from yourself. So self-control.
It's something you might hear at a restaurant, right?
Yeah, that's
the
right.
kitchen is closed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's kind of a restaurant metaphor. Let's see. What else can we say? They talk about the nighttime element. They're just using it as kind of the aspect of something. I think that's probably about all I want to talk about on this one.
Okay. 자, 이게 좀 해석이 약간은 좀 깐깐할 수 있을 것 같아서 제가 다 써드렸어요. The 뭐뭐뭐 element of 뭐뭐뭐의 뭐뭐뭐한 측면이라는 말인데, the nighttime element라고 하는 건 이 IF가 밤을 끼고 하는 것이라는 게요 정도가 돼요. 해석을 해보면. 그래서 뭐뭐한 측면, 이 IF의 밤적인 측면이가 이제 direct translation이죠. 근데 좀 와닿지가 않잖아요. 그래서 이 IF를 밤을 끼고 하는 그런 것 때문에 밤 동안에 하는 일이라는 것 때문에 정도로 이해하시면 됩니다. 오케이. 자, 그랬죠. 그래서 됐고요. Again, 우리가 왜 last order라 그러잖아요. 이제 끝날 때 we're receiving last orders. Do you need anything else? 마지막에 이제 your server will come to your table and ask, we're taking last orders. So do you need anything else? The kitchen will be closed in 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, in 30 minutes. So 지금 주방 정리 마감이란 말이 딱 맞네요. 그죠? 저희가 지금 주방 마감하려고 해서 마지막으로 주문 받고 있는데 뭐 시키실 거 있으세요? 이렇게 할 때. 오케이.
What about what if you're at a bar
Mhm.
and then the bar is going to be closing? What do they
Exactly.
say in that case? They anybody heard that? They say last call, right?
Mhm.
So last call means after this point you can't order any more drinks.
Mhm. Right. 이런 것들도 있죠. Last order, last call. 오케이. 지금 IF 같은 거를 근데 아까 전에 네이트 선생님께서 intermittent fasting이라고 풀어주셨는데 보통은요 이렇게 acronym이 갑자기 훅 들어와요. 그러면 되게 당황하거든요. 뭐 IFC 모르는 알겠는데 IF는 뭐지? 막 이렇게 된단 말이에요. 그죠? 그러면 앞을 보세요. 보통 앞에 나와 있어요. 한 번쯤 언급이 됐기 때문에 줄이는 경우가 많아요. 그래서 좀 하시다 보면은 그거겠구나 하는 정도의 수준에 오르실 수 있을 겁니다. 근데 영어에서 이런 짓을 자주 한다라는 걸 아셔야 돼요. 친절하게 IF or in case you forgot about it already, which I mentioned 3 minutes ago, 뭐 이런 식으로 막 설명해 주진 않거든요. 그러니까 IF 하면 뭐가 IF가 있었지? intermittent fasting이겠지. 이렇게 좀 찾아보시는 습관이 있으면 좋을 것 같습니다. Alright, I believe that's the last paragraph. Only one paragraph left. Okay, so 빨리 끝내고 잠깐 쉬었다 갈게요. Alright, so the case for skipping breakfast, 아침을 아예 안 먹으면 좋은 점이네요. Of course, all the research, again, research는 불가산이죠. 안 보여요. On breakfast, 뭐뭐에 대한입니다. 이때 on은요. 그래서 아침 식사에 대한 연구들 쭉 보면 doesn't conclude that it's the be all end all to라고 하면 the be all and end all이라 그러면 the be all end all to something means it's the most important part of something. 그래서 건강에 있어서 아침이 결정적인 요소다. 뭐 이렇게 얘기하고 있지는 않습니다. 이게 되는 거죠. 그죠? 그래서 물론 연구들 쭉 보면 아침을 먹어야 반드시 먹어야 건강하다 이런 결론을 내리지는 않습니다. According to a study published in the blah blah blah, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 어떤 임상 영양 미국 학술지에서 나온 연구 결과를 보면 people who skip breakfast may burn more calories throughout the day. 그래서 아침을 안 먹는 사람이 칼로리 소비가 연소량이 더 높고 than those who opt for. 자, you can opt for something, or else you can opt in for something. Opt in for something, or you can opt out of it. Right? 반대는 opt out of it 될 거예요. 그래서 예를 들면, for example, for religious reason, 종교적인 이유 때문에, you might opt out of getting your child vaccinated. 그렇죠? 그래서 아이한테 예방 접종 안 마치는 그런 미국 사람들 많이 있어요. 그렇죠? 그러면 they opt out of getting their child vaccinated.
Sometimes on an app, you can opt out of sharing your data with the company like Google or Facebook.
Your personal data, 그죠? 이럴 때 해서 뭐 개인정보 공유 동의하지 않음, 그죠? 동의 거부 또는 뭐 제 개인정보 공유 거부 이렇게 보면 되겠죠. Okay. Alright. 그래서 어떤 사람들 같은 경우는 아예 아침을 먹는 사람들에 비해서 아예 안 먹는 사람들이 칼로리 소비량이 더 높았고, although the same study found this could lead to higher inflammation. inflammation 염증입니다. 체내 염증 수치가 높아질 수는 있다. 왜냐하면 없는 거 가지고 막 몸이 삐걱삐걱 돌아가니까 이제 좀 염증은 높아질 수 있다 그랬죠. And if the only foods available to you are sugar or simple carb heavy, again heavy means a lot. 그래서 이렇게 당이나 또는 carb은 carbohydrate를 줄인 거예요. 탄수화물, carbohydrate. 그래서 그냥 carb heavy라 그러면 탄수화물이 많이 포함된. 만약에 우리 인생은 짧으니까 carbohydrate 외우기엔 인생이 너무 짧다. 그러면 go for carb. informal하게 그냥 carb이라고 부릅니다. carb. If you want to lose weight, stay away from carb. 이렇게 할 수 있어요. 그래서 탄수화물 먹지 마요. carb heavy. 그러면 당신이 먹을 수 있는 음식이 뭐 당이나 탄수화물이 많은 그런 음식밖에 없다면 likely going to be much better off happiness wise. 그래서 삶의 질은 높아질 거다. 그죠? 탄수화물이니까 빵이랑 초콜릿이랑 이런 걸 먹으면 행복은 높아질 거예요. If you skip breakfast. 그래서 아침 안 드시고 이런 거 먹으면 삶의 만족도 높아질 겁니다. Sugar consumption has been linked with depressive moods, so it's usually best to wait until you have access to protein and healthy fats라고 했는데요. 그렇죠? 그래서 hold on. 그 앞부분 조금만 다시 설명을 좀 덧붙여 볼게요. 이 앞에 문장 다시 한번 정리하자면 먹을 수 있는 음식 아침에 일어났는데 책 테이블 위에 초콜릿하고 빵밖에 없어요. 그러면 행복도를 높게 유지하시려면 먹지 말고 나가란 얘기입니다. 그 말을 지금 하는 거예요. 다시 한번 요게 맞는 정의예요. 그래서 주변에 프로틴이 있을 때까지 기다려라. 왜냐하면 초콜릿 먹으면 오히려 우울해진다라는 거예요. 그죠? So it's usually best to wait until you have access to protein and healthy fats. So I'm supposed to feel like a little blue today because I start my day with a piece of cake, right?
Is that a healthy fat cake?
I don't think so.
If it's carrot cake, maybe.
No, it's the milk based. So I don't know. I feel not bad though.
You look good.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So it's best to wait. Just wait. 너무 이렇게 좀 poor nutrition 같은 거밖에 없으면 먹지 말고 기다렸다가 이제 단백질 또 건강한 음식 있을 때까지 참아라. In other words, a muffin for breakfast is probably worse than no breakfast at all. 그래서 아무거나 집어 먹느니 그렇죠. 이 질문을 다루면서 제가 왜 케이크를 먹고 왔는지 모르겠습니다만 I don't know, just me being myself. Dumb. I don't know. Okay, 그렇습니다. 거기까지 해서 한번 봤네요. Any questions? I rather 어디죠? yeah. 이렇게 쓸 수 있죠. I would rather 라는 거는 I believe this is better. 그 말이야. I would rather라는 거는. 그래서 저라면 요렇게 하라고 시킬 것 같아요. 요렇게 하는 게 낫다고 말씀드리고 싶어요. 이런 문장이 되겠습니다. That's grammatically correct. What else? 그렇죠. 그런 뭐 그렇게 해도 틀리지는 않아요. 근데 거의 it's extremely rare to say sounds familiar. When you're saying that you can relate to that, you might say, sounds familiar. 근데 그거는 내가 하는 거예요. 왜냐면 이거잖아요. That sounds familiar. 들어본 적 있는 것 같아.에서 주어를 지은 게 sounds familiar. 들어본 적 있는데 또는 나도 그런 적 있는데이고요. 의문형이 되면 sounds의 s는 무조건 사라져야 돼요. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? 그랬을 때 sounds familiar 대답하면 되는 거죠. 물론 그렇게 직접적으로 대답은 안 하겠지만 문법적으로는 그래요. 네, 여기는 does이 생략됐기 때문에 does 때문에 s가 붙을 수 없습니다. Any other questions? Yep. I can relate to. 네, always. I can relate. Or else, relate라는 동사 자체가 그 예를 들면 이런 거예요. 버스인데 버스를 이렇게 출발시켰으면 목적지가 있어야 되잖아요. 그 버스만 놓고 있으면 아무 의미가 없어요. relate가 그런 거예요. 목적어가 나와줘야 돼요. To where, to what, 약간 이렇게. 이해되시죠? What else? 어떤 거요? 어디요? Oh, okay. The most important element of something. The critical element of something. 관용어처럼 쓰는 거야. The be all and all to에서 the be all and all이 하나의 명사처럼 가장 중요한 것이라는 뜻이 됩니다. 좀 낯선 표현이죠. What else? 질문을 모아놓으셨다가 마지막에 한꺼번에 릴리스 하시는군요. Okay. Looks like they've been waiting to ask a lot of questions until the end. Okay, so any other questions do we have? As we're running a bit short of time, how about we just take a 5-minute break instead of 10? Just today. 오늘만 한 5분만 쉬었다가 돌아와서 still I think we're gonna run short of time, but you guys it looks like you guys need some break, so okay. 5분만 쉬었다가 32분에 다시 시작할게요. 잠깐 화장실 다녀오시고 머리 좀 식히시고 돌아오세요. So Nate, which one would you like to talk about? We pretty much 여기 이미 우리가 방금 설명드린 것들에 대한 좀 예시를 네이트 선생님께서 직접 좀 잘 정리를 해주셨어요. 그래서 여기 좀 이해가 덜 됐던 표현들은 예시를 통해서 조금 이해를 깊이 해보시면 될 것 같고, we're gonna choose like several expressions out of them. We're not gonna cover everything because we're running a bit short of time today. Please understand that. So yeah, which one will be your first pick?
Okay, well, we can start with perfect storm. This because it could be kind of a difficult concept,
Right.
but I think this example will help you guys figure it out. So before we talked about how perfect storm was a series of factors that combine to make the overall situation a little bit worse. Here I slept through my alarm, so that means the alarm's ringing, but I didn't wake up. Does that happen sometimes? Yeah.
Every time.
So I slept through my alarm, and traffic was heavy. That means traffic was really bad, really crowded, congested streets. So cars not going anywhere. And my car broke down. On top of all that, car broke down. It was a perfect storm. It made me late for work or late for school. So all these different factors combined made it a pretty bad situation.
Okay. So perfect storm, 그렇죠? 뭐 어떤 안 좋은 일들이 막 겹쳐서 상황을 더 안 좋게 만드는 그런 조건을 얘기하는 겁니다. It was a perfect storm that made me late. Okay? 이해되시죠? 그래서 알람도 못 들었고 차도 막히는데 차까지 고장난 이런 일련의 사건들. Okay. I'll maybe for the most part. 이것도 좋은 표현일 것 같아요. Public transportation in Seoul is very efficient for the most part. Okay, sometimes you have to walk for 5 or more minutes just to transfer. So other than that, the overall satisfaction. And the overall, I'm satisfied with Seoul's public transportation system. 그렇게 말할 때 for the most part, not 100%, maybe 95% or more. I'm satisfied. 그럴 때 쓸 수 있어요. 그렇죠? 그래서 아까 전에 usually라고 이제 네이트 선생님이 풀어주셨는데 그거랑 똑같아요. Usually도 there can be some exceptions, but 거의 항상, almost always 이런 뜻이거든요. 여기서도 마찬가지. 거의 뭐 크게 문제 있는 경우는 잘 없어요. 없진 않지만 잘 없어요. 이런 말로 보시면 됩니다.
Yeah, I want to talk about the one at the bottom, settled in. So I think it might be a little bit hard to remember. Here it says, how do you like your new apartment? Are you all settled in? So I think settled in means you've passed through early preparation or getting things ready. And now you've reached the status quo, how things will be. So in this case, when you first move into a new apartment, maybe for a week or so, maybe more, you're going to be busy organizing things, maybe moving furniture, storing stuff. But then once everything's ready, you can just live as you normally would, comfortably. You're all settled in. I think in the article they talked about getting settled in at work, right? You don't show up at work and immediately you're just typing on the computer. You probably maybe go to the bathroom, maybe get some coffee, clean your desk. That could take a whole hour of getting ready before the boss notices. So once you're settled in, it means you've finished all the minor preparations and now you're ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, how about we go to the next page. 다음 쪽 한번 볼까요? Yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy 한번 보겠습니다. 요것도 보기는 쉬워 보이는데 어떻게 쓸 거냐에 있어서 조금 헷갈릴 수 있기 때문에. I just had a handful of friends over. A handful이라 그러면 a few예요. A few. 손바닥에 예를 들어 제가 여러분들한테 저는 한 이렇게 보따리 가득 밤을 여기 넣었다고 칠게요. 그래서 야 나도 좀 주라 이랬을 때 그래? 손 줘봐. 다음 올리면 제가 갖고 있는 게 이만큼인데 손에 올려준 거잖아요. 그럼 야 좀 더 줘라 이렇게 되는 거죠. 그래서 a handful 작다란 얘기를 할 때 쓰는 표현이에요. A handful. 그래서 I just had a few friends over 똑같은 말입니다. On New Year's Eve, nothing crazy, nothing crazy. 그래서 뭐 별거 없었고 그냥 친구 몇 명 불러서 놀았어. 이런 말이 되는 겁니다. 그래서 새해 전날 밤에 그냥 친구들 불러서 놀았어. 이 정도. Yep.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that the next one, no joke, it's almost like the opposite that, if nothing crazy means not a big deal, no joke means that this is kind of a big deal. This is serious, right? So here it says training for a marathon is no joke, meaning that probably requires a lot of effort, probably a lot of dedication, to training for a marathon. Do you guys know how long is the marathon? It's pretty far, right?
Yeah.
42 something kilometers, right?
Right, that's right.
So you probably have to get up really early in the morning to do that one.
So, the be all and all이라는 거 아까 질문 주셨으니까 이거는 같이 볼게요. Winning is the be all and end all of competition이라고 하면 시합을 하면 이겨야지라는 말이에요. 그죠? 그래서 시합을 하면 이기려고 하는 거지 지려고 하는 건 아니다라는 말이에요. 그래서 시합에 또는 경쟁에 있어서 가장 중요한 게 뭐냐? 그걸 이기는 거다. 거기서 다른 사람들을 누르고 올라가는 거다. 자, 이런 말이 되겠죠. Okay.
Okay, and then I guess the last one is wise, distance wise. I think the nice thing about this is we're using one suffix wise to eliminate the need for more words. Instead, without this, I could say, in terms of distance, like in this example, distance-wise, or when it comes to distance, that's a lot of words. I can just say distance-wise, a lot easier. Distance-wise, I'd say we're more than halfway to our final destination. So if you want to talk about distance, we're halfway. When it comes to distance, in terms of distance, too many words. Say distance-wise.
You want to be concise. 그죠? Conciseness 되게 중요하죠. 말을 반대는 conciseness의 반대는 뭐냐면 being concise의 반대는 좀 이렇게 drawn out 됐다 그러죠. 말이 막 늘어지는 거야. 막 세워라, 내워라 말하고 이리 갔다 저리 갔다 not to the point. 할 말만 딱 하고 빠지는 게 아니라 그래서 거시기 막 이렇게 막 느리게 말하는 길게 말하는 게 drawn out. That was a little bit drawn out. 이러면 야, 말이 좀 너무 장황하다 이런 말이에요. concise는 간결하다. 그래서 instead of saying when it comes to, you can say just 뭐뭐뭐 wise 하면 말이 좀 더 깔끔하고 짧죠. 오케이. 자, 그럼 이제 배운 것들을 바로 한번 여러분들이 써보는 아까 전에 말씀드린 writing practice 한번 해볼 건데요. It's going to take about 5 minutes and then we're going to start practicing discussions or answering discussion questions there. Okay. So real quick. 오늘 마이크를 지금 드렸는데요. 오늘 첫날이니까 그냥 편하게 한 분씩 해보고 넘겨보고 이렇게 해보겠습니다. 야근하는 게 이젠 익숙해. 자, 영어로 한번 바꿔보실까요? 마이크 켜시고요. 다른 분들도 브레인스토밍 같이 하시고 직접 적어보셔도 좋아요. 들으시는 동안.
I'm used to working late in office.
Good. I'm used to. 자, 역시 이것도 답변도 같이 여기 적어드릴 겁니다. I'm used to working late. working late 여기까지 말해도 되죠. In the office까지 굳이 안 써도 돼요. I'm used to working late because you might work from home. So I'm used to working late or do overtime 뭐 이런 말도 쓰죠. 또는 work overtime, do work overtime. Yeah. 야근하다. Okay. Or overtime work 이게 야근이죠. Overtime work. 순서를 바꾸면 이때 work은 명사고요. 야근. Just feel free to hop in if you like to add.
How about
anything.
putting in long hours?
All right, put in long hours. 장시간 근무를 하다 이런 말이에요. Okay, so 마이크를 넘겨주시고요. 네, 만약에 부담스러운 경우는 마이크를 뒷사람 얼굴 쪽에 던져주시면 돼요. Medical service for no.
In Korea, medical service, for the most part of medical service is free.
Okay, in Korea, in South Korea, medical service is free for the most part. 이렇게 해볼까요? For the most part. Right. 그래서 대부분 뭐 의료보험이 다 돼서 공짜야. Canada is well known for that, right?
Canada has a good system, so they say.
But it takes forever for them to actually see their doctor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
I didn't
it
realize
takes
that.
like months or years until you get surgery done.
Wow. You're dead by then. That's no good. The U.S. is notorious, though, for it's really expensive, not affordable. The prescription medications sometimes are almost impossible to afford for people who need it.
방향이 아니라 약. Okay. Who's the next one? 네.
We just had a cup of beer last night and it was nothing crazy.
There was nothing crazy 또는 그냥 comma nothing crazy 그러면 돼요. We just grab a beer, nothing crazy. Grab or had 다 좋아요. We just had or grabbed a beer.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a cup of beer, which is correct though, grammatically correct. 근데 그냥 you can say a beer.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's correct, but at least in America, I don't think people would say a cup of. They would probably say a beer or a bottle of beer, or I guess you could say glass, maybe. Probably just a beer though. We just had a beer.
Same thing with coffee. You don't necessarily say. So what would you like? I would like a cup of coffee. That sounds a little off, even though it's grammatically perfect.
Right.
So you're just going to say, I like a coffee, just a black coffee, a coffee. 그래서 여러분들이 이제 뭐 중학교에서 배운 문법이나 이런 게 하나도 안 맞아요 실생활에서는. 그래서 a cup of라고 써야 된다. 그러고서 만약에 여러분들 중학교 때 그냥 쓰잖아요. 그럼 중학교 선생님들이 막 서술식 막 틀렸어, 막 멍청이 막 이렇게 하지만. In reality, that's how actually people say. That's why a lot of young kids who spend a couple years in the States, when they come back to Korea, they just screw up their exams. Anyways, just a beer, a coffee, or two coffees. 그런 거 다 돼요. Okay, grab a beer, nothing crazy, right? Okay, great job. 마이크 넘겨주시고요. 네. 스피디하게 다음 거 한번 해보시면요. Alone. Okay. 순서를 좀 바꿔봐도 좋을 것 같아요. Well, it's no joke라고 해도 되는데 그냥 raising two kids by raising two kids by yourself is no joke. 이렇게요. 그래서 두 애를 혼자 기르는 건 그러니까 이제 single parent를 얘기를 하는 거죠. 흔히 이제 편부모라고 하죠. 한국어로는. 그래서 raising two kids by yourself is no joke. 이건 쉽지 않아요. It's serious. It's really difficult. 이렇게 말할 때요. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to comment on raising. I think raising is a great choice here. You raise kids, but I've also heard a lot of people in Korea saying I raised a dog, and in I think in Western countries we wouldn't really use that for an animal, raising a dog. We'd probably just say I have a dog. That's all.
그렇죠. Interesting. 그렇죠. 그래서 이제 사람한테는 쓰지만 even though you take care of that little puppy since the day it was born, but still you're going to say I have a dog. You know, I have a dog. I don't. Well, that's subconscious on the subconscious level, maybe. But we don't know why they chose.
I'm not
it.
sure. It's almost. I think the word raise implies also teaching some kind of morals and behaviors. So I don't think we can do it as much with an animal, like teaching right and wrong. But that's just a guess. But to me, that's what it sounds like a little bit.
그렇죠. 그래서 raise라고 할 때는 그냥 신체적인 것들 말고도 좀 정신적인 것들도 있기 때문에 동물들이랑은 좀 그런 게 한계가 있어서.
Yeah, I don't want to say we would never ever use it. I just think it would be really uncommon for a pet. Maybe a little more common for farm animals, like raising chickens, but that's a little bit of a different context.
자, 그렇게 보시면 되고요. All right, how about next one, number 5. Who's next?
For me, meeting BTS is the BRN.
Right. Meeting BTS members in person is the be all and all for me. 뭐 이렇게 해볼 수 있겠죠. 잘하셨어요. 전반적으로 뭐 크게 문제 없었던 것 같아요. Meeting BTS members in person is the be all.
I don't want to sound dumb, but
No.
BTS is a group.
Yeah.
group?
It's the I guess it's one of the biggest K-pop bands these days.
I'm behind the times. So I guess I haven't kept it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So be all and end all to me.